Welcome to Revealing the Wolf. I'm Dustin Taylor. We are continuing our series in the book of Daniel. We've made it to chapter 2. This study will be in 2 parts. First, we'll break down the storyline and then the prophecy. This chapter contains one of the most popular prophecies in all the Bible. The past, present, and future are held in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. This dream predicted the future roughly 2,500 years in advance. Its historical accuracy has been tried, tested, and proven. Much of this prophecy has already been fulfilled. This gives us greater confidence that the remainder will also be completed. God has not left us to speculate or to guess what will become of this sin-stricken world. He has given us an outline of events and stories in the book of Daniel to prepare us. If you remember from our last video in Daniel 1, God gave Daniel understanding in all visions and dreams. That gift is about to be put to the test. We read, "Now in the 2nd year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was so troubled that his sleep left him. Then the king gave the command to call the magicians, the astrologers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to tell the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said to them, 'I have had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to know the dream.'" So Nebuchadnezzar has had this dream that he's super concerned about. In these times, dreams were not thought to be from too much television, video games, or junk food. They believed that they were messages from the gods and wanted to know what each one meant. So he calls in the heavy guns. Not just one particular sect of intellectuals either, but some from every group of wise men in his realm. The magicians were scholars, writers of Babylon's sacred literature. They also practiced magic and were fortune tellers. The astrologers professed to be able to predict events by studying the stars. The sorcerers, also known as mediums and witches, claimed to contact dead spirits. They conversed with the spirits by muttering magic spells, chanting dark speeches, and praying in strange tongues. The Chaldeans were the elite of the wise men, proficient in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and the sciences. They also gave fanciful interpretations. Their job was to educate the youth. People have compared them to the Jesuits of our day. One thing that all of these have in common is the occult. God's word forbids people from being involved with such groups. This means that they were all under the control of Satan. You see, Satan uses groups to persuade not only the rulers, but entire nations to do his will. You will see the beauty of these men being put to the test first. Nebuchadnezzar had told them that he wants to know the dream. They replied, "O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will give the interpretation." Have you ever woke up knowing that you just had a dream but couldn't recall it? I sure have. This seems to be Nebuchadnezzar's state. He cannot tell them because he doesn't know it. He says to them, "My decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made an ash heap. However, if you tell the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive from me gifts, rewards, and great honor. Therefore tell me the dream and its interpretation." Did you notice that Nebuchadnezzar tried to motivate these men by honor, riches, and even death for an answer? Today, these same tactics are used to get people to believe in God and the Bible. Preachers will tell you all about hell's torments to motivate you to serve God, or preach cheap grace and a life of bliss after this one just to get you to follow him. Any service that is not a direct result of love is in vain. You might think that Nebuchadnezzar is unreasonable here, but you must know that they profess to be in favor and in direct contact with the gods. Most of us would agree that asking someone to tell you a dream that you had is absurd. That's their argument as well. We read, "There is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. Therefore no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." So even under penalty of death, these men professed that they were liars, that they were not in direct contact with any divine sources. Since they had all been revealed as to what they truly were, Nebuchadnezzar was angry and very furious, and gave the command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Daniel and his friends were not of these occult groups, but were included in the wise men. When Captain Arioch arrives, Daniel has no idea what is going on. Daniel, who has been blessed with wisdom, handles the situation with prudence. He inquires, "Why is the decree from the king so urgent?" Then Arioch explains that Babylon's wise men could not tell the king's dream and were found liars before him. So Daniel went in and asked the king to give him time, that he might tell the king the interpretation. Let's pause for a moment to think about this. The king not only forgot the dream, but he had forgotten that he had pronounced Daniel and his companions to be 10 times wiser than all the wise men of Babylon. God's hand was in this for a reason. If the king had remembered Daniel and his friends first, they would have gotten an answer without all the other belief systems being exposed and miserably failing before the king. Now that Daniel is in front of Nebuchadnezzar, he exhibits his great faith in God by asking for time to reveal the dream and the interpretation. Nebuchadnezzar must also have believed that Daniel could get an answer because he grants permission. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they might seek mercies from the God of heaven concerning the secret, so that Daniel and his companions might not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel blessed the God of heaven. There are valuable lessons to learn here. Daniel could have prayed on his own, but he sought to find and pray with those who believed as he did. Where 2 or more are gathered, Jesus is in the very midst of them. Daniel also knew that he could not tell the king his dream or the interpretation of it, but Daniel and his friends knew someone who could. They wasted no time petitioning God in prayer, and Daniel was given the answer in a night vision. If they hadn't prayed, they would have been destroyed like the others. Guys, we are going to face all kinds of turmoil in these last days. If you expect to get through it all, you had best learn to make prayer a part of your life. Often, no human can solve our dilemmas for us. You may be going through health, financial, family, or marriage problems. You must petition God on these things and seek His wisdom. Commonly, though, the answers are given to us to quit drinking the alcohol that's causing the marriage issues, but we don't. We're told to eat a diet like Daniel to reverse or prevent known health issues, and we say no way, or I believe that we can eat whatever we want, even though we know it's killing us. Whatever the case may be, God frequently sends us the answer to our prayers, and we reject them because it requires us to give up the thing causing the problem. We love sin more than the solution. That's the reality that you may not like to hear. God has the answers to our situations, and He knows what the future holds. He will give you the strength daily to get through them if you will but ask and do what He says. Now, after Daniel gets the vision, he asks for mercy for those who have vain religions. He went to Arioch and said, "Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Take me before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretation." All these wicked men would have died if it were not for a few righteous men. How often the blessings and mercies of a few spread over to the unjust. When Noah and Lot left the presence of wicked men, they were all destroyed. What do you suppose saves the world today? Why is it continuing on? One reason is because there are still men of God doing His will, bringing lost souls to Jesus. Can you see the love of God littered all over these examples for us? God's people are being called out of darkness today. Everyone is making a choice who are hearing these messages. Soon it's all going to end. Where do you stand? Daniel is now equipped with the knowledge of the dream. He goes to Nebuchadnezzar saying, "The secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot declare to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and He has made known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the latter days." You notice a few things here. Daniel points out that none of the other false belief systems could reveal what the king requested. He then steers Nebuchadnezzar to the true God by saying, there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets. Notice also that Daniel states the focus of the dream is for the latter days. And Daniel didn't take any credit, but he gave all credit where it was due. The next thing Daniel does is reveal to the king what his dream was, and he gives the interpretation of it. That valuable insight for the latter days in which we live in is in the next video. If you've enjoyed and learned from this clip, I hope that you'll share it and subscribe to not miss the next one. Until next time, stay faithful out there.